years in Memphis State history, and of course, with Shaq back in the day with the Magic, he helped guide them to the NBA Finals. He's the great Penny Hardaway, and he is live with us now on the first team, the brand new head coach at Memphis. Penny, it's Taylor and Greg. We hope you're well.
No, I was well, man. Thanks for having me.
First and foremost, are we going to rename the team Memphis State?
No, we should go back to old school. Well, no, we won't be doing that anytime soon.
Tell us how this happened. I know a lot of people have had questions about this, but when did you first become interested in becoming a college basketball coach, specifically at your alma mater?
I think when I was coaching middle school after my first championship, I really wasn't going to get into coaching, and then a friend asked me to come and coach. And after I coached that 1 year and won a championship, going into the second year, I was like, hey, man, you know what, I could make this a living. I could really coach for the rest of my life because I really enjoyed this. And it became a dream to coach at the university. Probably after Josh Pastner left, before they hired Coach Smith, I was thinking, man, maybe there is a possibility for me to coach at the university one day.
I know it's got to bring you great pride, obviously, to be back, but when the decision was finally made and W. Smith was relieved of his duties, you step in. What was that phone call like?
Man, it was weird because I couldn't believe that this had come full circle. I thought about it. I was thinking, it could be a possibility, but when it actually happened and I got the phone call, it was just an amazing feeling, man. It just took me back to the days when I played and all the great teams that have come through Memphis and all the great players that have played at Memphis, and then for me to be the head coach at the university, it was just an amazing feeling.
It's got to be. I know you're fired up and you're excited, but what challenges lie in front of you now? Not a ton of experience, obviously. You've had a lot of success as a player, but it's kind of different now, obviously, being in a coaching role and being the head coach and all the challenges that come along with it. What do you think lies in front of you as you embark on this journey?
Well, I mean, there's plenty of challenges for me. Coming in as a new coach with no experience in college, that's first and foremost. Secondly, having to take on someone else's team because no one's here from everyone's here is from Coach Smith. He recruited them, so having them to buy into my system, dealing with all the ins and outs that come along with coaching, the media requests, and checking on the guys, making sure they're in school, making sure they're in the dorms at night, doing all the things that come along with the coaching. It's going to be a challenge, but I'm looking forward to the challenge, for sure.
Penny Hardaway joining us here on the first team, the brand new head coach at Memphis. And you have talked a lot about this, Penny, in the last few days, about how your team, when you guys were so good when you were there in the early 90s, was made up almost exclusively of guys from West Tennessee. How big of a deal is that to you, to recruit guys from that area and kind of dominate high school recruiting in that region so that local kids stay at home?
Yeah, it's very important to me because of what you stated. When I was in high school, the top players in West Tennessee, we all wanted to play together. We all wanted to make a difference for our hometown, and we felt like we could go to Memphis and make it a national powerhouse, and we went to the Elite Eight in our tenure while we were there. So I understand that Memphis basketball has enough talent to take your team to a Final Four and even win a national championship. We just want the kids here to know that we won't just be recruiting Memphis only, but we want every kid to understand that we want them to feel like Memphis is back on the map and that they should want to stay home and that it's popular to stay at home again because you have an opportunity to win a national championship in your own hometown.
Who's going to help you bridge the gap in being a head coach? I know you're developing your staff as we speak.
Yeah, I am developing my staff, but I am leaning on veteran guys that have coached the game for many years, and they're giving me some valuable advice. And then my ex-teammate, my backcourt mate, Tony Matlock, the only hire that I have, he's so well-versed in knowing everything. He's 20-plus years in the game, so he's really helping me out a lot. And I have a lot of mentors, guys that have coached the game, and even guys that are in the game right now, they're calling me, I'm asking questions. And it's really a huge fraternity with the coaches. I'm shocked at how a lot of the guys around the NCAA are calling me and kind of giving me little nuggets, so pretty cool.
A few years ago when Avery Johnson became the head coach to Alabama, someone asked him, Penny, about the kind of players that he would have on his roster, and he said, you see Justice Winslow at Duke? He's from Houston. He said, I've known him forever. He said, no disrespect to them, but he'd be playing for me if I were coaching in college right now. A lot of people have looked at guys like Dennis Smith and said he would have played for you if you were coaching in college right now. Is that fair? Are those the kind of guys?
No, that's very fair. That's very fair. You got your P.J. Washingtons, your Jason Tatums, your Bam Adebayos, and all those guys that I knew personally and that played for my AAU program, but for sure, the relationship that I built with those kids, with Dennis Smith Jr., they would have been in Memphis uniforms, and that's fair to say.
And Penny, we've been watching from afar what's been going on off the court with some of these things that are happening that have compromised programs. Are you concerned at all about the state of college basketball? And in your mind, what do you think needs to be done to clean it up?
I'm not. I'm concerned a little bit because the kids, I think, need to be treated much more, it's a more fair. It's really sad that the kids, I was one of those kids. I came from a very humble humble background where I had nothing. It's hard to ask a kid to come from nothing and then come to college and not be able to receive some type of money to help get food for their family. Our families were struggling. My family was struggling when I was in college. So I think there needs to be a mutual agreement. The coaches need to sit down with the NCAA, and we need to hash things out to make it easier for these kids because it's really hard. When you come from the background that I came from, it's tough to be in the college and not have clothes. I came into college with not that many clothes, and you're asking me to wear a suit and tie on the road and for home games, and I don't even own a suit or a tie or a jacket, and no one can give me the money to get it. And my family can't afford to get it for me, so what am I supposed to do? So I hope that there's going to be something done where the coaches, a committee can sit down with the NCAA and just really hash things out so that these kids can have a better living while they're in the NCAA, with their experience in the NCAA.
All right, so last thing, Penny, if we were to call up Shaq or Nick Anderson or Dennis Scott or your coach, Brian Hill, and say, in 20 years ago, do you think they would have envisioned you being a head coach? Do you think you've always had this in your blood?
Absolutely, because the point guard is an extension of the coach on the floor. The point guard can coach. I really feel like that is, and they could say, I can see that happening because I was an extension of my coach while I was out on the floor.
No doubt about it. You did a phenomenal job of that. I think first game you got to make your own uniforms, Penny, and it just needs to say state across the front.
I think you should bust out the retired 25 jersey and wear that instead of a suit on the sideline.
Yeah,
that would be awesome, man. I think the fans we're really talking about the throwback unis for sure, because I think that would be really, really good in my first year coaching back in Memphis.
Or at least do something with Lil Penny or with Sprite. I mean, I've been a fan for a long time, my friend. So we're happy for you. Enjoy this ride and best of luck.
Yeah, thanks. I will enjoy it. Thank you very much.
Penny Hardaway joining us here on the first team. Where's Lil Penny? I want to do an interview.
How great was that campaign?
Oh, Lil Penny was the man. I want to do an interview with Lil Penny.
Yeah.
A lot of people have questions about this, Greg, and whether this is going to work. It didn't go down easy for people that have been connected to college basketball or follow it religiously, people that have so much respect for Tubby Smith. Look, if you didn't think Tubby Smith was the right coach for the job, I think Spatola said it well. If you didn't think he was the right coach for the job, fine. Well, you shouldn't have hired him to begin with. He did do, in terms of improving the win-loss total, a better job than Pastner did, at least the last couple of years. He did not recruit the area. I get that there was a disconnect between him and the administration, but the way that he was forced out and the way that Penny's brought in, it's not been the smoothest of transitions. But then again, there's lots of people in life that go through an awkward transition. So I have no doubt he's going to recruit a lot of talent. No doubt. I do wonder if Penny Hardaway is prepared for all the ins and outs that come with being a college basketball coach. He's going to have to do a lot of learning on the fly.
It's not easy, I don't think, to step into that role. I mean, it's really difficult, I would assume. But knowing that basketball is really all about players, and if he has the relationships with the guys, then and they want to go play for him, and he can recruit at a high level, then he'll have success, right? I mean, that's really at the core. If you got dudes, you can go, man. I mean, I don't think Memphis is expecting to get back to the national championship anytime soon. I don't think that's the expectation level. But to provide an exciting product and to get the people in the community interested and to have people once again buy into what it is they're trying to do around the organization and around the program, that's really the key. And if he can bring in some of those guys, given his affiliation with some of the AAU programs over the years, then maybe he can have success sooner than later.
He's got a couple of guys on that staff. Butch Pierre, who was a John Brady assistant at LSU, and Tony Madlock that he just mentioned, who was an assistant for Andy Kennedy most recently at Ole Miss, that he is going to need to lean on. And that's good. That's smart that he's hiring those guys that have been so connected to college basketball and to that area of the country, too, to help him try to bridge that gap in year number one. That'll be fascinating to follow, Penny Hardaway, with Memphis. Again, I think they should still be Memphis State. Just my opinion. All right, we're going to make some picks for what's happening in Boston and in Omaha. Can Mendoza stay on this heater? We'll find out next on the first team.
Hey, Benny! What do they call these shoes anyway?
Penny. SiriusXM has a 24-hour channel dedicated to politics.
I'm Tim Farley. President Donald Trump has named former UN Ambassador John Bolton to take over as National Security Advisor from General H.R. McMaster. Ambassador Bolton on Fox News.
It's obviously a great honor. It's always an honor to serve our country, and I think particularly in these times internationally.
In a statement, the president thanked General McMaster and his family for their service and wished them the very best. Follow the politics of the United States on POTUS Channel 124.